This week in a conversation, I have a privilege to welcome once more my old friend, impressive fantasy author, Dasha Wallace. She's joining me from Idaho. And last time we had a conversation, it was about her debut novel titled Isabella and the Beast. But this time she has a new series, interesting series, by the way. It's called The Fang Society, which is book one in a series that will contain four books, according to Desha. But before we get into this interesting conversation with my old friend Desha Wallace, I just want to remind you guys that my new novel, Bittersweet Memories of Last Spring, is still riding high. And by the way, there's a beautiful review. It was done by impeccable author Rashmi Bora. And I'm going to put a link at the bottom of this video so you guys can check it out. There's the magazine from the Walgo Village called The Stroll. The book, I think the book were featured in the last month edition. And there's also the newspaper from Jacksonville. Well, interesting. The book not only has been enjoyed by readers, but also book reviewers and have seem to have fallen in love with it too. So let's see what happens. And to close this from this quick introduction, I just want to remind you it is crucial that you continue to lend support behind this great literary show, the conversation. And the best way to do so is to subscribe to it. And if you do, don't forget to click the notification bell so that way every time a video is posted, I'll go to you directly on your portal. So let's get started. Again, my name is Ardain Isma. I'm here in the conversation with an old friend. We had that one conversation before. I'm here with author Dasha Wallace. And the last time we talked, it was about a brand new novel she had just published. It was titled Isabella and the Beast. Interesting. And what was so interesting about it, Dasha, was we talked at the same day when the book has been made available to the whole wide world.
Yes.
So how are you now?
How am I now? I am doing really well. I have grown so much since that book. Now that I think about it, it seems like such a long time ago because there's been so much I've learned and grown since that debut novel, and just been constantly writing and getting out my next book that's coming out this month on the 22nd. So
because I know that because I know you're already in full campaign gear for the book, which is The Fang Society. If I understand, is the first book of a series. My impression was the last time we talked, Isabella and the Beast was going to be the beginning of a series. What made you decide to switch and to begin a new series right now?
Well, Isabella and the Beast was actually originally just going to be a standalone.
Okay.
But the reason why I switched gears to the Fan Society is actually I have a book that I have on the back burner, which will be coming out after this. But
can you share that with me? We don't want the audience to know.
Yes. So these are my plans. I have 4 novellas coming out this coming year.
All right.
For this Fan Society. and then I'm having a book 2. So the Fan Society is going to be a duology with 4 novellas.
Wow.
After that, I have a book that I have about 20,000 words in. It's a science fiction novel called Forest Talker.
Okay.
The forest is actually one of my characters, and it's
Really?
a sentience, and and there's a world eater, and so humans are kind of, well, the Azulans, the planet of blue-eyed people, are kind of trapped in the midst of a war between these two people. But the problem with that is that I know my weaknesses as a writer, and so I felt I needed more writing experience before I could get into, a science fiction novel where, my planet is not Earth. It's a entirely new race of people and creatures that don't exist. So I figured I would get more experience writing in the Fan Society before I jump back into that that book. So
this is a project where you think that that can be that can be put into the motion of getting it ready for your readership sometimes next year or something?
Probably in 2 years, because this October I have the Fan Society, and then I'll have the 4 novellas come out in between this October, and next year October I hope to have book 2 out.
Okay.
So I'm currently working on writing book 2. I have the 4 novellas written. I'm currently in the midst of editing them.
Okay.
I'm on chapter 3 of the second book of the Fan Society.
Really?
Yes, and I am currently, and then so once I finish writing that and get that into editing stage, I'll start writing the Forest Talker, and have that hopefully come out within, a certain couple of months. If my pacing and my timing is correct,
Right.
then it should be available probably within 2 years, the October after that. But as I said, I have 5 books that I have planned at the moment, so we'll see how everything comes out. So yeah.
You're such a powerful woman. I mean, you have children, two children, and then you have a husband to tender, and then you want to be a prolific writer. So I mean, how do you discipline yourself? This is the second time I'm asking you this question. I asked you the very question the first time we had that conversation. So could you please just give us, for me as a writer, could you really teach me a little bit? How do you discipline yourself in doing so?
Discipline myself is I schedule. Scheduling is a big thing, and actually now I've been able to get more things done because my son is now in school all day long. Okay. And so I now have more time where I can dedicate myself to working on things. And so basically I make sure I have a schedule in my head, like, yes, because I'm self-publishing, it's my own schedule. I don't have anybody, beholden to me, I don't have anybody beholden other than myself. But I make sure that I'm sticking to that schedule that I have in my head and I have planned, and I know what my capabilities are. And so if I don't reach that goals, it'll be me feeling bad about myself because I know I could have done it. And so if I didn't do it, then I would feel bad. And so it's just me pushing myself to achieve my goal of being a writer. So
and then also I think this is going to play also into advantage, the fact that we are right now in a transition period. We're transitioning to autumn. So I believe from your neck of the hood, it's going to be a little darker or even grayer, which is good for someone who's writing. So
yeah, it's right now, it's because I still don't have the readership yet. I'm still a very, very new author, and marketing is not my forte. And so, but I've actually taken classes on marketing and publishing my book, and So I'm putting forth all the things I've learned from my first book to
this one,
this one, and making sure that, you know, it goes. I've learned and I'm growing, and hopefully this goes well.
Okay, before we get to this side of things, we're going back to it. But let's talk about right now the Fang Society. And then you said that Cinderella with a twist. Now, can a spy truly fall in love? You know, it says that can a spy make a prince fall in love with her? Because I've watched and I've read a lot of mystery stories, and especially in intelligence, political or social political realities, where service intelligences deal with this kinds of, even by the way, since I would say the 18th or the 17th centuries, great political figures have used women as a weapon, to achieve political advantage. Now, for you, you say that can a spy make a prince fall in love with her? Do you truly believe that can happen?
I believe it can happen. I was wanting to, like, the secret society is a society of ladies who protect the royal line in names of protecting England. And so her mission is to get close to the noble line so they can protect the royal line. And her mission is to marry, because if you're married to somebody, you're obviously going to be a lot closer to them, available a lot of things. And so her mission is to marry the prince. But obviously there's a lot of emotional baggage because she's supposed to make the prince fall in love with her, but it is a mission. So there's the guilt involved of, he's a very nice prince. He's a very kind,
Do you have
sincere
that? Because
person.
the thing is, you know what? This is what comes to twist. Because you're not being sincere. But once feelings start getting in the way, then you start questioning yourself. Can I really do this? Now that I'm falling in love. Yeah.
Well, and then it comes to, she also has another agenda. So her mission is obviously to marry the prince, but she is wanting to find her missing mother that everybody assumes is dead. She went missing years ago. Nobody knows what happens to her. So she sometimes goes off on another mission, which causes problems with the whole mission and everything, and puts the prince in danger, and she's hiding it from the society. Feelings and there's,
because I know that Arabella is the protagonist. This is
Ella
the protagonist we're talking about. Yeah. And I understand that's exactly what you're referring to, because her life takes a major turn for the worse when her mother goes missing and presumed dead. Okay. And then misery follows her when her father remarries and dies soon after.
Yeah. It takes place in the first 2 chapters of the book.
Wow. It's just like a way that you really want to put me on the hook and hold me there to the very last word of the story. And that's what you call an author, a writer with a lot of talent. So can you please share with the audience? You're not going to tell the plot now, but okay, Arabella, did she succeed in achieving all of these? Don't tell the plot now, because don't tell the plot. If you can find a way to tell me without giving it away, so we can talk about some things,
Maybe. I will tell you the prince does fall in love with her, but
okay. That's good enough for me.
Things happen. Things definitely happen that make it where she thinks problems happen.
Yeah, I know. But
problems happen.
That's good enough for me. But I'm thinking maybe because since it's a series that the story might end with a cliffhanger, which ultimately put people on edge, wanting for the next one.
Yes. The cliffhanger actually is not involving the romance. It
Right?
is involving the plot, the intrigue.
Okay.
You find out that the intrigue may not be exactly what you thought it was. And there may be somebody, another force behind what was happening in the background of the story, which will be involved in book 2.
Okay. That's interesting. So I know, Disha, the book is set to be released this month.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a specific date?
22nd.
October 22nd.
October 22nd. This month, it is actually already available for pre-order.
Wow. Okay. So that means we can find the book and all the retailers, right? Retailers it's not only on Amazon, but it can be found on Barnes and Nobles and Booktopia and all the others.
It can be found on Amazon. I only did it on Amazon because this time I'm doing it pure self-publishing. I did it on Amazon. You can find it on Kindle, paperback, and hardcover for pre-order on Amazon. I am doing an audiobook.
Oh,
My only current ETA is it should be done sometime in mid-October. So hopefully I'll be hearing the good news soon that
that's
it
interesting.
is done.
That's interesting. Now let's go back to what we said at the beginning. We talked about the marketing game when an indie author, you know, has to market his or her book, in your case, your book. So you're up against, a major steep things that cliff that you have to overcome.
Yes, very big cliff. Those big publishing companies tend to overshadow. It's part of the reason why I'm releasing it in October and not November, because the big companies always release their biggest author names in November.
Really?
So I'm like, I'll do it in October.
Okay.
So I'm not fighting with that.
Okay.
So
Okay, but I mean, and the release date, what I would like to do, because I like your style of writing. Just the way you're talking, you're quiet and laid back, very imposing, well articulated. So that's why your lines, the prose, it reflects that.
thank you.
So, and I think that that's what your readership will come away with, because I know that's what you're building. You're building your readership. You're
Yeah.
branding your name at this point as an author, as a writer. Okay.
Yes.
So I know you have a thriving writing community in Twitter in particular, in which you belong. So
Yes.
so how supportive you think that other writers?
Oh, they're like super, super, super nice. Like, actually, I have a friend who's on Twitter, on Instagram, because obviously authors have multiple social media platforms they're on. And I had actually beta read her book, and she beta read my book, The Fan
Okay.
Society. And I was trying to upload The Fan Society onto KDP.
Okay.
And then it showed me like the keywords and the categories that
Right.
you're supposed to be putting in. And I'm like, oh man, what am I supposed to do for this? And I'm like,
Right.
oh, this is so important because these are all your search functions. And I'm like, the category isn't the one that I wanted. And I'm like, well, what should I put it under? And so I messaged her on Instagram, and I'm like, I don't know what to put for this like categories, and I'm totally stressing about it. Within like a minute or two later, she's like, do not stress. Give me a half an hour. I'll help you do research. And she spent the next like half an hour to an hour messaging me over Instagram, helping me get my book set up. And I've never met her before.
Okay.
We've literally only met on social media. She lives in England. Like, I'm like, I've never met her.
Right.
But super, super nice. Any question I ask, I can usually ask like the members, and they totally, pop up with answers and things like that. My cover for this new book was designed by somebody I met on Twitter.
Really quite stunning and looking so
right? It looks so good. And I was just like, I'm like, I don't even know where to start for creating my cover. And she's like, I'll help you. I'm like, really? And so she helped me. She did most of the work. I had a very cartoony like concept idea, and she turned it into that beautiful, beautiful cover for me. And she like even like did the hardcover for me. So nice. Totally willing to help me. And she hasn't asked for anything for it. I'm like, really? Are you sure? Like, are you positive? I would totally pay you. But she's like, no, I'm just helping you out. I'm not a professional. I'm like, are you sure this cover looks totally professional? So, I mean,
it's really was stunning,
yeah. So these, like, I mean, super nice. Like, whenever I have a post, they always share it. They tag me in things. Any question I ask, they're willing to help. Super, very, very nice, very supportive community. Very supportive community. I don't know what I would do without them. They're the ones to help me, give me the courage to continue the hard side of the business and marketing stuff.
And that's why it says that the making of a book is a project of its own. So no, it's not just the writing, the polishing, the revising. It is also the marketing. It is also the making itself, the physical book, its presentation and all that. So you need an army of people which really, really believe in the project itself to make it happen.
Yeah.
Most people don't know that. At least, in the reading community, they don't really realize that. Because all they see is the finished product.
Yeah, to be fair, I was one of those people. I'm like, I want to be an author. Oh, I just need to make sure I write good. Nope. No. There's everything else involved in it. But I'm still proud of all the work that I've done. And actually, because I've done this, I've inspired my cousin. She wants to become an author.
Really?
As well. Yeah, she just started writing her book. I read a bit of it. It's pretty good. But because she knows me and I'm going through this process, she now wants to become an author, and it just makes me so proud.
You see how your reading has, convinced others to become just like you, writers. So that's interesting. It's just like that magical touch that you have, not only in expressing it, but also in writing it. So that's interesting. Yeah. So now, Dasha, okay, this is the first in a series that will contain, at the end of the day, 4 books.
Yes, it'll be.
You extend this in the period of 2 years to accomplish that.
Yeah, no, I started. So last year, October, was when my first book, Isabella and the Beast, was published. January of last year was when I started writing it. Mm-hmm. So I started writing it. I did all my writing, and then I did editing for Isabella between that. Mm-hmm. And then the beginning of this year, mm-hmm. I wrote all 4 novellas.
Okay.
And got those sent off. And then while those were being sent off, I edited the Fan Society for like the second or third time, all the massive editings that you have to do.
All right.
And
the retooling, the polishing, I know that. It's
all the polishing and stuff like that. And then I came back from vacation, and I started working heavily on like revising, like fixing my website, making it look more professional. That was something I needed to work on. Getting a better understanding of price points, KDP, making sure all that stuff, presentation, as you said, getting all my presentation all set up, finishing off the final edit, getting that sent off to my audiobook person so they had a final freshly polished copy to read from. And then I started doing my research, because this book is historical fiction, takes place in 1830s England. So obviously I need to do the research to make it, historical.
Mm-hmm.
And so starting the research for that while I was waiting for my developmental edits to come back from my editor for the novellas. And so it's just what is important at the time. And then while I'm waiting, because it's also a lot of great waiting. So there's the hurry up and wait. You have to hurry up and finish writing your book so you can get it sent off to editor. Then you wait for 3 weeks for your editor to come back, 2-3 weeks, whatever. Mm-hmm. And so while I'm doing the waiting game of waiting for my editors to come back, I start writing my next book, or I do my, working on stuff for my next book, or, my website and stuff like that. So I'm constantly working on being an author, even if I'm not necessarily working on the book.
Okay. Interesting. It's a good lesson for other writers also to learn from you. And just before we end the conversation, I'm going to ask you something. I know when you finish your manuscript, there's always this moment of anxiety when you're ready to share it, even with your best friend. So I remember last time we talked about this in the first conversation doing Isabella and the Beast. But this time, you are a more confident writer. So what was the feeling this time?
Actually, it was less anxiety, because once I felt like I was an author, so once my Isabella and the Beast was accepted by the publishing, I'm like, oh shoot, I'm an author. And I'm like, oh, I need to start writing. And so because I was doing everything so constantly and consistently, and my family are like readers. I have cousins who are also in the dedication page. I have 2 cousins and 2 sisters who love to read.
They must be very proud of me there.
Yes.
Print, right? In print.
Yes, it's in print. They're like,
wow.
well, I need to be in the dedication. I'm like, yes, I put you in the dedication page.
Ooh,
and so
wow.
I actually was reading it out loud every week to them. So I was reading it out loud constantly and consistently through my writing process. So they are technically my alpha readers, because it was through them, through my readers personally, giving me consistent advice on, oh, this is really cool. And also because I was consistently calling them every week, I also didn't get writer's block as much, because I'm like, oh, because, when you're going through a story, there are some parts I'm like, oh, am I going the right way? Is this good for where my story is going? But hearing somebody constantly confirming, saying, oh, yeah, no, this sounds really good. It would be better if, I wonder if we would do this, or it would, sort of thing. So it makes me feel more confident during my writing as well, because I had my family members who I would constantly be reading and updating and stuff like that with on the phone. So I didn't have that one instance of, here, I'm passing this manuscript to you. Can you read it and see if you're good? No, this was every chapter I was reading.
Okay. So it was, she was there with you throughout the entire process. Yeah. So at the end of the day, I mean, that lesson, substantially the anxiety that you would otherwise have suffered if you didn't have to go through it. I understand very, very good.
So they helped me out immensely in the writing process, because writing is a very personal thing, and especially this book 2 of the Fan Society is very, very personal to me. That if I didn't have my sister poking me, is like, because there were some obviously bad things that happened in between book 1 and book 2, and she's like, you have personal knowledge of how this person would feel, make sure you write it. I'm like, oh, that's gonna hurt. That's gonna hurt bad. So but it's been actually really relieving for that, because some of these experiences that I'm going to be writing in book 2 come from 2020 being a very chunky year. And so some of that ends up part of book 2, and so, but it's them poking me saying, you need to add your emotions to it, because if not, it's going to be a very boring story. I'm like, oh, I really should. Oh, I'm just going to cry during this part while I write it. So yeah, so it's really good to have, there are so many supporters. I would not be here where I am without my supporters. Would not be here without my supporters at all. So the community is super nice.
Interesting. And I feel so proud because I'm part of it too. So now, Dasha, I'm going to ask you the very last question. It was the same question I asked you and during the first conversation. Okay. Listen, at the end of this conversation, would you please, I want you to take a look at the audience in the eyes and tell them exactly why it is urgent on October 22nd. They need to rush to get their hands on the Fan Society first book.
It is very, very important. It supports me and the independent authors who work so hard on trying to get their books out there. So the more people who go on that day, it makes it easier to reach a wider audience, because you purchasing it on that day will make it so maybe Joe Schmo down the road, who it wouldn't have pulled up in his feed, now it's showing up, because obviously people are interested in reading this book because there have been people buying it. So it's very, very important. It supports us independent authors. It means so much to us. First day. And sorry, my table. It also gets you a higher ranking, so more people see you on the dramatic fight of the millions of books that are out there.
Do you have the book with you now, so I can show it with the audience?
No, I just ordered my copy, so they haven't sent me my copy yet.
Okay.
I would love to, but
and I may add, Dasha, also they need to rush to get it because of the story itself, and fall between the covers of this magnificent book.
I mean, I have 4 more books coming out. You're gonna have to read pretty fast to get through all of them. Okay. Might as well get it the day it comes out. Hint, hint, wink, wink.
One of the thing with fantasy authors, once you get hooked into one, then you have to get all.
You like it. You like my book. You want to read
it. All right. So on that beautiful note, Dasha, I just have to say it's been more than a pleasure once more, to have you, one of my wonderful authors for my writing community, in the conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate everything you do, not just for me, but for everybody in the writers community. We really appreciate you. You're awesome.
Thank you.